Hey folks, it's Kev here, and this evening I'm going to show you how to set up an episode in the new Illumination of Deepsorrow campaign book. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up our campaign guide on the bookstand, just to help me out with this video, and turn to scenario 1. And you'll note that I've got this sheet of paper on the right hand side. This sheet of paper is your campaign tracking guide, and it's so that I can basically obscure the end state conditions. So those are the ones at the end of the scenario from the beginning state or setup state conditions on the left hand side. So I've now zoomed in for some better light, and you can see that we're in scenario 1, taking control, and the fluff begins your journey across the Wrathlands. And I'm going to leave it at that because this is not about fluff today. It's about how to set up the adventure. And what I'm going to do is have a look at this part of the page on the left hand side. You can see a bookmark. That is the system we're going to use to set up adventures going forward. The bookmark itself has the icons and card types beside it, along with the card numbers required for each adventure. And up at the top we have card codes there. Deepsorrow uses ID, but in the set we actually have 3 different card codes: Weeping Caves, Great Sewers, and Illumination of Deepsorrow. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but imagine a multi-environment adventure set, and that is why we need to have the 3 different card codes within the game. So the next thing to show you is the number before and after the oblique or forward slash. In this case, you can see, I'm just going to zoom in a bit, forgive me, it is a 7/9, the 9 with the crown above it. And the 9 with the crown above it refers to the legendary difficulty setting, the 7 being for heroic or standard play. But we do know that some of you like to play on legendary. And so in this case, I'm going to set up the rest of this adventure using the heroic level, so the big number, the 7, but wanted you to be aware that there is legendary setting within it. Okay, so you can see quite clearly that it says start in Collapsed Street, GS LO22. Now you may have seen in my previous video, apologies for speed of printing, there is this white band. It will be removed for final product. It's just prototype, folks. Just the prototype. But Collapsed Street and Great Sewers GS LO22. So you know that you have the correct card for starting. And I'm going to place this down now as my starting location. The next thing you can see here is that we have 7 location cards. So not 9, we're not playing on legendary, remember, but 7 for heroic. So I'm going to count out 7 location cards, excuse me. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kev got sticky fingers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm now going to place those down. And then you can see quite clearly it says shuffle into the bottom half of the deck, Wheel Room GS LO25. So I'm just going to grab the Wheel Room card, GS LO25, and shuffle that in. And I've now finished shuffling my top half of the location card as well, and I've placed them together so that I've now got my shuffled location cards. I have the original 7 as specified at the top, plus my 1, which is the Wheel Room, which is in the bottom part of the deck, for my 8 location cards, which I will place down on my board. The next section on the bookmark is the foes section. So that's what I want to look at now. And in that section, you can see that we have 6 for heroic or 7 foes in this particular scenario. So what we do is look at the named foes, and we want to create a selection from those foes that are described. So in this case, 2 corpse bees, 2 cultists, 2 gull warriors, 1 Gaiags, and 1 beast warden. And we take those and shuffle them all together. That's 8 cards in total, and in this case we want to take 2 of those cards, so we don't know which 2 have been discarded. And the reason we've done it this way is to make sure that thematically the foes in each scenario make sense, but also you will encounter the same foes less often by taking this approach. Moving down the bookmark, the next section is discoveries, and I am looking for either 8 or 6, in this case 8 discoveries, and specifically it's with the GS for Great Sewers. Card codes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we have 8 discoveries. Booby traps, it mentions 3, so I need 1, 2, 3 booby traps. The next section is loot. We need 8 cards, so I'm just going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loot cards. Please note this one here with the purple header, it's a special card, it must sit in the adventure deck and not the treasure deck. Next up are clues. You can see we need 2 red and 2 green, so I'm just going to grab 2 red clue cards and 2 green clue cards. Finally, time, we need 6 time cards, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 time cards. Okay, so we're now ready to set up our table using the decks that we've prepared over the last minute or so. And first up we've got our start card, which you remember is the collapsed street. And then I'm going to use the following acronym, ELOBAT, or ELOBAT. It means nothing, but it helps me remember how to set up my table if I'm stressed at a convention or something like that, or just getting a bit lost. So E for events, that's the 6 time cards, 6 event cards we had. And then our 8 location cards, remember there is the wheel room somewhere in the bottom of this deck as well. That's the L, so EL for events and locations. Next up we have obstacles, and I just want to quickly check, yeah, it's GS. Didn't want to get confused with myself there, so that's ELO, events, locations and obstacles. And then barriers, again, just want to check, yep, GS. So we now have barriers too, so that's LOB or ELOB in terms of our decks. So now we need to make the adventure deck. So first off, in my groups, I have my clue cards, I have my foes, my booby traps, my discoveries, and my loot. So I'm now going to build this adventure deck, first of all, by turning upside down all of these piles that we just looked at. So remember, these piles have been assembled. We're turning them upside down so that I don't know what they are anymore. You'll see they all have the adventure icon on the back of them. And I'm now going to proceed and do a layered shuffle. You don't have to do this, it's primarily because I don't like bending my cards, but also I'm really bad at riffle shuffling. Hugh is excellent, I am not. I'm not very good at it, but it is essential to get a good shuffle in this game, particularly of the adventure deck. It has a fundamental impact on your experience in the game. Feel free to fast forward this, it lasts for another 10 seconds or so, folks. But it is real time and shows you that even if you can't riffle shuffle, you can make an adventure deck pretty quickly without damaging your cards. And again, just doing a little bit of extra here just to make sure that it's absolutely random, because I don't want to know what's coming first in my adventure. There we go. But what about the T, Kev? T stands for treasure. We've done Eloba, A was for adventure, and we're now on to the T. And in my hand, I've got 16 loot items. But the treasure deck does not just comprise loot, it also comprises an amount of booby traps, which will vary depending on how difficult you want to make the game. So in my hand here, I've got the treasure deck counter, the topper, so to speak, and you can see there, let me just try and adjust the light and the camera, sorry folks, you can see there that if we play on heroic level, there are 2 booby traps for every 8 pieces of loot. And if we flip it over, this is if we're playing on legendary mode, you'll see there are 4 booby traps for every 8 pieces of loot. We're playing heroic in this case, so it's 8 to 2, but you can see how it becomes more dangerous. You have to be more wary of the treasure deck if you're playing on legendary mode. So in this case, I'm going to take 2, and I've got another 2 for 4 booby traps because I have 16 loot items. So I have shuffled these off camera, and we now have our treasure deck. However, you'll note that the icons look identical to the adventure deck, and we need to differentiate them. And we've deliberately done it this way because the cards that comprise the treasure deck let you reuse your loot and booby traps from any set. But to differentiate them, we put the treasure deck topper on top of it so it's abundantly clear which is which. Please note as well, you could be using the resource cards from the original alchemy booster, which have a buff background to them instead, and therefore there's another reason for having that topper, so it would obscure that buff background. You won't be able to see it. So there we have it, folks. We now have our scenario set up using Elobat, events, locations, obstacles, barrier, adventure, and treasure. You don't need to set them out this way, but that's how I remember. And that's us for this video. I hope that was of interest. It's certainly been my pleasure to share some of the cards in Deepsorrow with you. If you want us to make more videos, please do like and subscribe. Let us know if this is of use to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch today. Thank you. Bye bye.